Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I'm interviewing the fabulous Kristen Dalton Wolfe. Kristen was Miss USA in 2009. I had the honor of meeting her in 2008 during a mental toughness for pageantry boot camp. She is spectacular. Not only did she win Miss USA, but she went on to become an author of The Sparkle Effect, which is a fabulous book. If you are a pageant participant, I highly recommend that you grab a copy. She's been married for 10 years, has 3 kids, and is in women's ministry. Okay, Kristen, it's so nice to have you on the show today. I'm so excited to catch up.
It's been like over a decade.
It's been a long time.
But you've been in my heart ever since.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, do a little backstory on maybe a little bit about you and then maybe how we met.
Okay. Well, I'll just start with how we met since it's kind of kicked off on that. But we met when I was Miss North Carolina competing for Miss USA, and you and your dad, it was you and your dad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that held the mental toughness boot camp for pageant women, and it was called Eagle U. And my sister Julia had gone to Eagle U, and she grew so much from it. And I just saw the mindset strategies that she learned and applied, and I could not wait. Like when I won, I knew it was a part of my prize package, so I was so excited to go. And I remember something you said during that week. You were like, one girl from this weekend is going to win Miss USA. And I was like, it's going to be me.
You were pretty confident. You were confident, but not arrogant. You were very sure of were sure of yourself. Yeah.
Well, I just feel like with things like that, you like when you hear certain things like that, or I don't know, anytime that you feel like there could be a God week, you might as well take it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, let that be for you. Like, let that be your message rather than like, oh, it must be for someone else, right? Because if you do, you're just going to give it away. I'm sure that's like a mental strategy you probably teach people. But you said that, and there was also another moment that I will always remember where there was something I was trying to work through mentally. There was this one girl I was competing with that I was like, I don't like her, she kind of triggered me. And she was also very confident. And I was like, how do I manage my mind around this woman, like while we're at Miss USA for that whole month? And you were like, you should take her with you through the whole journey. Like, imagine that she is in top 10 with you, top 5 with you, and that you're holding hands together. Yeah. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And so I did that. And I just remember it helped so much because I felt more, it took the darkness out of it. It took the fear out of it, and the comparativeness, and brought in just an ease and a sense of being relaxed and camaraderie. So yeah, that's how we met. And then that helped me so much. And then I won Miss USA. And so moving on to my background, that's part of it. And then I moved to Los Angeles after my year to try to get famous, like a lot of us do in some way. I was like, I think I'm going to do TV hosting. And so I did some TV hosting stuff and commercial work, print, and all that was great. But, I'll get into this later in our interview, but that's part of my background. Now I have 3 children, 6, 4, and 2, been married for 10 and a half years, written some books. I have a women's ministry. And now I'm a life coach and a performance coach and mental health coach. And I have my almost master's in counseling. So
I'm just so proud of you because I remember that boot camp, and Eagle U hosted it, and we did the training for it. And it was really fun, and a lot of really strong competitors attended. And it was just a really fun thing. I wish that we could have continued to do it. Maybe we can bring it back. I don't know. Who knows? But it was really, really fun. And you were so you would pull me aside probably more than anybody there. You would just hey, I have a question. Hey, I'm doing with this. And it's like, you were the most, I'm not going to say you're the most intentional one there. I don't know. But you were the one that I could tell you were absorbing everything. You were writing all the notes. You were taking it all in and you were applying it to yourself in real time. So it didn't shock me that you won. Because I felt like you were just absorbing everything and paying attention to everything. I think there were other super strong competitors there. I was impressed by every single person there, so I'm not taking anything away from anyone. I just remember you would just pull me aside and ask questions, and you were just very eager to let me learn everything that I can learn. I feel like that's probably the key to success in life anyway, is to be eager, curious, and learn as much as you can. And then what I love about what you've done now is you impart it to other people. So tell me a little bit about some of the books that you've written.
Okay. Well, my newest or latest book, it's called The Sparkle Effect, Step into the Radiance of Your True Identity. And the way that that title came to be was from Miss USA. I wasn't a predicted top 15 girl. I wasn't on people's radars. Mm-hmm. So I was an underdog in a sense, and I knew that going in, but I was totally fine with it because I was like, y'all just wait till you see me on stage. You don't know,
Yeah.
And so the head judge came up to me that night after I won, and she was like, hey, I just want to tell you that after the commercial break, when they announced the top 15, all the judges leaned into me and they were like, because they're celebrity judges, they're not used to judging pageants. They're like, hey, all these girls are beautiful. How do we know who to choose here? And she's like, you're going to see it in one girl. It's in the girl who sparkles. It's in her eyes and in her smile.
I love that.
And then she said, after the next commercial break, they all leaned into her and they're like, we see what you're talking about. We see the girl who sparkles. And she's like, Kristen, that girl was you. And I had just won. So I was like, well, praise the Lord, that worked out, But it wasn't until later when I started coaching women and leading women's groups that I started to see what she was talking about. You can have all the things, you can have all the preparation, you can have all the money, you can have all the resources, you can have a team, but none of that matters if you don't have this sparkle, this confidence. And the reason I called it the sparkle effect is because she told me, you have the sparkle. And then also because in the pageant world, or even in the performing world, or for people who are speakers, people will say hey, just turn it on, or she has the it factor. And I felt like that always kind of left women feeling like you were either born with it or you weren't. You either had it or you didn't. You were either special or you weren't. Mm-hmm. And I just realized that's not true. It really comes down to, you can press it out. It's within you. We all have it within you. It's just a matter of letting it shine. And so that's what that book is about. There's 31 characteristics. Diving in. And then the other two books, one is a devotional about stepping into your royal identity. And then the other one is a guided journal that leads you into connecting to God's voice.
Very cool. Now, are you doing what you planned to do? If you go back 10 years ago or before Miss USA, could you have predicted where you are in any way, shape, or form?
Probably not. Yeah, because I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was like, I don't really know if I necessarily had a plan for beyond Miss USA. I knew I really wanted to be Miss USA. Mm-hmm. And I thought that being Miss USA would kind of open the door to what the next thing was. I mean, I had big picture goals of being Oprah Winfrey,
of course,
a motivational talk show host. And I have had some of those things come to pass on a much smaller scale. But I don't think I would have predicted raising a family in Los Angeles. I just did the math the other day. I'm I've been here for 14 years. That is crazy. I'm from North Carolina. I never thought when I came out here to see if I can make it, that I would meet my husband out here and now be driving my kids to school in Los Angeles. What? So, but yeah, I feel God just has us here. Chris and I, he has a men's ministry, I have a women's ministry, and I feel those are the two things that really keep us here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, one thing I ask everybody is define winning. How do you define it?
Yeah. I feel like there's three parts for me, but it's achieving your goals that are aligned with God's will while enjoying the process.
Okay, you're going to have to say that one more time because I'm writing it down.
Yeah. Achieving your goals that are within God's will while enjoying the process.
I think that speaks to me. All elements of that speak to me. I think a lot of times we might set a goal, and if it's not something that we're actually supposed to pursue and do because God has something better for us, then that it may not come to fruition, and that's okay. But no matter what goal we achieve, we need to make sure we're enjoying. We're going to achieve it better or more likely to actually get it if we're enjoying it. So we perform up to our potential when we're having fun.
Totally. I feel like having fun is just like the key to almost everything.
Well, life is more fun when you're having fun, and more people want to be around you.
And you're in your true self. You're like in your authentic self when you're having fun. You're not worried about what people are thinking about you. You're not like up in your head because you're just like relaxed and in the moment because you can like you trust yourself and you're like, you don't have to like me. That's okay. And there's so much freedom in that.
Yeah, you're not overanalyzing everything.
Yeah, for my women's group this year, like vision board. A lot of people do vision boards at the beginning of the year, and we did vision boards. But before we started, I led them through a meditation. Really, what it was a listening prayer to listen in and ask God, like, "Hey, what is your will for me this year? Like, what do you have in store? What do you want me to dream for?" Because like when you're aligned with what he wants, it's like it takes out the striving and the straining and the like beating down doors that you're not meant to open. There's a grace on it and a favor on it.
I love that. That's really cool.
Cool.
I want to know, okay, so of all the things you've been through, what is the defining moment you think in your life? Or is there, I'm just probably multiple, but can you think of one?
Yeah, I think the one when you first asked, the one that comes to mind is after I moved out here to Los Angeles. I was working in the entertainment industry, and I have and had a history of going through like depressive episodes and really struggling with self-worth, to be honest. And I was in one of those. And actually the church that I go to now, which is 14 years later, there was this guy, his name was Jason. And we were just in a conversation after church at lunch one day. And he said to me, "Kristen, don't you know that you are a daughter of the King?" And that really struck me. It turned my whole world upside down because I had just been Miss USA like a year or two before. And I was struggling with my identity at that point. I didn't have the crown anymore. And what he was saying was like, you were always wearing the crown. And like, I realized that before I was really hustling for validation. And in that statement, you are a daughter of the King is no, you get to operate from validation, not for it. And so I got really passionate about like what it means to be a daughter of the King, and just went on a whole like journey with God that transformed our relationship. And I started asking questions like, what would it be like if every woman knew that she was royalty, like really knew it, believed it, lived it? Like what issues would that save her from? And so it really just like kind of switched my career trajectory into what I'm doing now.
You mentioned that you had like a little bit of an identity crisis there for a minute. Talk people through what that is like, because I think when you've held a national title like that, and that's been everything for 365 days or more, and then you're passing that on to someone else who gets to enjoy that, and you go from I'm Miss USA to, oh, I'm Kristen. What is that transition like?
Well, I'll be honest, I felt discarded. I felt replaced, and like very easily replaced and forgotten.
I hear that a lot, though. I hear that a lot from girls who, whether it's a state title or a national title, because it's all consuming every day. And it's not that it's about you. It's about everyone that you bless during your year and you meet during your year. But you know what you're going to do. You know what's on your schedule. You know what's next. And you know who you are, or you know what you're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the teaching moments that I like to talk to girls about is you got to set another goal. Like, you've got to have something to strive for or something to focus on, because otherwise it can feel very empty afterwards.
Yeah. So no, I think you're totally right. And I think I had like a goal in a sense, but yeah, I also had a boyfriend at the time who lived in Philadelphia. And so I went and lived in Philly for a little bit and commuted to New York City for auditions. And so that lasted for about a summer. And then I just was like, no, like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I read this book called The Alchemist. And it's funny because I reread that the other day. I was like, I don't know what really stood out to me from that book that led me to the decision. But I just knew that it confirmed to me that I was supposed to move to LA. And so I did. And then my boyfriend and I continued in a long distance relationship for a few years. But yeah, I mean, I had a lot of favor over like entertainment stuff, like commercial hosting, but I knew it wasn't my calling, you know? And sometimes I think it's good, like, to have a goal. Like, you definitely need a goal, but at the same time, it's important to be surrendered and open-handed to how it might look different.
Yeah, to me, a goal is just to set you on a path. It's not a predetermination is going to happen. It's like, this is the path we're heading down. And if it's not the right path, you will be moved. You know,
totally.
Something will happen. A tree will fall in the path and you must move. So something will happen. But yeah. So you're doing ministry now and you're raising 3 kids and you've been married for a decade. Okay. Crazy. What's your advice to women who might be watching on how to keep all of the balls in the air? Like, it sounds like you have a lot going on. How do you keep everything going?
Yeah. Know your season. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause it looks different in every season, you know, like, there's been seasons where, like, I have a newborn and I pull back on my coaching work for a little bit. There's been a season where I stopped working entirely and Chris was like the only one making money. And that was like, that was crazy, you know, like, just the fact that God even put it on my heart to do that is wild, because it was a stretch. It was a stretch of faith and like of trust in our relationship. And, yeah, so just like, I think just knowing the season you're in and not trying to like fit everything in one season, but to be flexible and knowing that things are going to look different and change. And that's okay.
What would you say is something that you've learned or advice that you've been given that's made the biggest impact for you?
My husband said this phrase to me when we were trying to make some decisions. He said, follow the favor. And that has been very clarifying in a lot of different situations when I'm wondering, which opportunity do I say yes to? Which direction do we go? How do we know which one is right? And it's like, if you follow the favor, you can't really go wrong, because that's usually where God is.
How can you tell?
For instance, I was looking for where I was going to do my counseling program to get my master's. And I got a message from Liberty University, and they invited me to their school for an event where I got to meet the president of the university. And I took that opportunity to talk to him about my goals. Like, I had like 3 minutes. And I was just like, hey, I would like to get my master's here. Do you have any full scholarships available? And that conversation led to an application process, which then led to me to getting a full scholarship. And so that's an example of following the favor. Like that was a moment of favor. It was like, okay, that was an open door. They reached out to me. There was an invitation there. There was access there. Versus if it were another school and I was like sitting online, writing this whole application, getting 10 referrals, trying to get their attention. And then I'm like, why would I even like try to decide between the two? It's like, no, you go where God is like, hello, shining the light. There's a sense of ease and grace on it and access and open door.
Well, and that makes sense to me too. And also when you're there and you took the time, it's like it's easier to walk through a door when you feel really confident that that door is wide open for you. But you took the time too to ask, hey, are there any opportunities here? I mean, they could obviously say no, but it sounds like they wanted you there.
That's a really good point too, just to kind of pay attention to where has the door even been partly opened. And like, if you're in the room, you're meant to be there. So that should give you the confidence to like take the leap of faith, because there was a split second where I almost walked out because my flight was about to leave. Like I had to go and he was in a full on conversation, but I was like, no, like God brought me across the nation to this moment. Like I can't walk out now. Like I have to make it happen. So yeah, just seizing those moments, like where God opens a door and you got to stay in the door. Don't walk out. Don't get scared.
How has in your life, how did your life change by being Miss USA?
Well, it gave me, so many things. And it still does, definitely from the growth and the just, I think, confidence and interpersonal interactions, any kind of social setting I'm ever in, just knowing how to navigate that kind of stuff. And really growing in the ability to know my standards and to honor them and to stay true to them. Really to learn how to navigate people pleasing.
Okay, you got to stop there for a second. People pleasing, I think, is a big problem.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. Do you have a tip on navigating that temptation to have to please everyone?
Yes. You have to be willing to believe that God loves you first. Because my biggest tip, it's very incredibly helpful. And it's a visual of a throne. And if you're in a situation where you're like having anxiety about a decision because of what people will think, imagine the throne of God in your mind. Who is on the throne right now? It's not God. It's a person or it's a situation. And if you put God back on the throne, notice what happens inside your body.
It's like you're focusing on all the wrong things. And so when you change the focus, everything actually is put into focus.
You realize too, it's an issue of idolatry. Like people pleasing sounds like really cute. Like it sounds very like, oh, I just want to make everyone happy because I'm so sweet. But it's also a form of control. It's like controlling other people because you're afraid of what could happen if they don't like you. So you're really trying to protect yourself. And you're not being true to yourself. And that's very imprisoning. So to realize like people pleasing is actually an issue of idolatry. And taking all those people off the throne, including your boyfriend, your husband, your kids, your mother-in-law, whoever it is, your boss, putting God back on it, and then see it, like everything filters out through that.
My dad always says, always remember who you are and whose you are.
It's a good one.
And everything else just kind of falls into place from there. You've got to know you and you've got to know who you serve. And if you understand that, and depending on who you're serving, might be the deciding factor on how well life goes for you. But that always resonated with me. Remember who you are and whose you are. And so I say it to my kids, like, remember who you are and whose you are. I think it annoys Ashley, but it's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. You know what? You're getting it deep within her. So she'll she'll always refer back to it.
And she's going to tell her kids one day. She's going to.
Well,
all right, Kristen, how can people catch up with you? Like, how can they follow you? What are ways that people can find you, your books, your ministry?
Yeah. I would say like my main hub is Instagram, Kristen J. Dalton. And then my website, Kristen Dalton Wolfe, just has different ways that people can work with me, whether it's group coaching or one-on-one. So yeah.
What is your ultimate goal then? Where are you headed? What's next?
Well, I think my ultimate goal probably still stands with motivational talk show host. I see myself as a combination between like a Joyce Meyer and Tony Robbins. Like if you could like mash the two up, like that would be my dream.
Okay, that'd be fun.
That would be so fun.
Okay. I could see that. I can see that happening. All right, everybody, if you want Kristen to have her own talk show and be that combination between Joyce Myers and Tony Robbins, okay, go ahead and follow her on Instagram. Like this episode if you do. Thank you so much, Kristen, for being here. I've just been so blessed. And we're not done because we're going to spend some more time focusing on answering some questions for our Patreon members. Let's find out how we can pick your brain on how you can help women and also people in pageantry. So if you're not a Patreon member, join the Patreon membership, everyone. Thank you, Kristen.